American Dad is one of Seth MacFarlane's greatest series that first aired in 2005. It was about the Smith family and their day-to-day life with a talking fish and an extraterrestrial alien. With 21 seasons having aired for 20 years, we are going to honor the legacy of the show by remembering 20 of the most recurring characters from the first season till now, then get to see the people behind their voices, who they are, what they are doing today, and how old they are after 20 years. And we shall start with the mother of the house. Francine Smith was the mother to a boy called Steve and a daughter known as Hayley, and was also the wife of an agent known as Stan Smith. She was 39 years old, and was a housewife who kept matters of the house in order. With her youngest son called Steve, she always wanted him to stay young and be her baby forever, and did not allow Stan or Hayley to push him around. She was also very beautiful in animation standards, and sometimes would be flirtatious to others when she wants something or when she's just generally bored. And her only talents in the show were cooking and cleaning, and being a loyal wife to her husband and a good mother to her kids. This housewife was voiced by the beautiful Wendy Shaw, who is an American actress, and just like Francine, she is also blessed with 2 kids, and is known for rolling in films like Small Soldiers and The Burbs. Now to the daughter called Hayley, a 19-year-old girl who was the eldest child of Francine and Stan. She was also married to a boy called Jeff, who was a dumb and emotional boy. Hayley was just a fresh girl out of high school, and she always spent time with the family, but would mostly spend time with Jeff drinking and using other substances. She was also an environmentalist, and would take part in feeding the homeless or preaching about animal cruelty. She was a vegetarian, but would sometimes eat meat with her family, which shows that she was hypocritic. She was voiced by Seth MacFarlane's sister called Rachel MacFarlane, who is an American voice actress, and we discussed her in Family Guy, and also took part in voicing number 362 in the Kids Next Door television show. The son in the Smith family was called Steve, who was the youngest child in the family. He was 14 years old and was a socially awkward kid, especially when it came to girls. He had 3 close friends who we shall look at later in the video, and they loved playing Dungeons and Dragons together. He was in his puberty stage, and always wanted to lose his virginity to any girl that would come around. His personality always changed in each episode. Sometimes he was so confident, sometimes he doubted his self-worth, and sometimes he became a singer, and would release some of the greatest music in the film. A good boy voiced by Scott Grimes, an American actor and singer who has married 3 different women in his lifetime, but is single as of today. He is also in a music group known as Band from TV, which has been active since 2006. Terry Bates was a news anchor at Channel 3 News and a good neighbor of the Smith family. He was also married to a man known as Greg, who both lived together. They both adopted a girl who became their daughter, and a special point to state is that Terry never informed his parents about his sexuality because he knew that they would reject the fact. It was Mike Barker who voiced Terry, and is an American producer and a former voice actor. Now, Klaus was a goldfish who was once an East German Olympic ski jumper until his brain was switched with that of a fish in the 1986 Winter Olympics by the CIA to prevent him from winning the gold medal. And even as a fish, he had the ability to talk and also breathe both on land and in water. The Smith family loved him no doubt, but would ignore him most of the time due to his ineffectiveness and his small stature. He mostly showed emotions of sadness and rage, and had a German-English accent throughout the show. He was voiced by D. Bradley Baker, a man who we've already discussed in The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra, and also in Kids Next Door. Brian Lewis was the head principal at Pearl Bailey High School where Steve and his friends attended. He was a very weird man who did questionable things when he served as the principal, and some of these acts included the use of substance abuse. He sometimes stripped naked in front of people, he sometimes bullied students, and other unmentionable things that can get me demonetized. He was an African-American middle-aged man that was voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, a legend who we discussed in Lilo and Stitch where he voiced Captain Gontu, and has also been in animated sitcoms like Futurama and The Simpsons. Jackson was just a coworker of Stan in the CIA, who was a weird and simple guy that previously worked as a real estate agent before working for the government. He initially was gay, but after a night with a woman, he became straight and started thirsting for women. He also had a son with leukemia, and that's why even with his incompetence, he always decided to stay at work to raise money for his chemotherapy. Voiced by Mike Henry, who we initially discussed in Family Guy where he voiced Cleveland, and is an American voice actor and writer. Deputy Director Avery Bullock was Stan's boss at the CIA. He was in the government agency for more than 25 years, and was still in a good physical shape even at his early 60s. He was an addict of the white substance, if you know what I mean, and had a fetish for overweight Asian women. He was also the one who gave out orders for the agents like Stan to follow, and his ego never allowed him to negotiate with his oppositions. And one final point is that Avery was a married man who loved his wife, but he was still a very unfaithful husband who slept with other women while on duty. He was voiced by the great Patrick Stewart, who is an English actor and a Star Trek legend. Toshi Yoshida was one of Steve's friends, and was a Japanese boy who only spoke in Japan language. He did not like Steve, but since he had no other friends, he hanged around him. He always condemned the stupidity of Steve's actions, but since Steve didn't understand Japanese, he always thought that Toshi was congratulating him. He was from a rich family, and also had a hot sister called Akiko, who Steve and Snot had a crush on. A Japanese boy voiced by a Japanese actor known as Daisuke Suzuki, who is mostly voicing characters from video games and anime shows. Captain Monty was the host of a television show called Captain Monty's Book Cavalcade. He also had a restaurant called Captain Monty's and ran a boat tour called the Gums Boat Tour. Voiced by Matt McKenna, an American voice actor and producer. And even more important characters include Zach, who was Stan's personal trainer when he wanted to lose fat. We later came to realize that Zach was just created by Stan's imagination as motivation to work out. Roger Smith was born 1,600 years ago, and was a space alien who was a sarcastic, self-centered, and an alcoholic being that lived with the Smith family. He did every job, from being an accountant to a model to a real estate billionaire to even working as pimp. There was nothing Roger couldn't do. Stan, on the other hand, was the overall master and protagonist of this show. He was the husband of Francine and the father to Steve and Hayley. He was also the one who saved Roger from the CIA and also adopted Klaus as the family pet. His IQ was low, but was generally a good family guy and a CIA agent. Snot Lonstein was among Steve's friend and was a geek and a fairly normal teenager. He had a thing with old women and was a Jewish boy who was always serious and dedicated to his religion. He could play guitar and was also afraid of women just like Steve. Another friend of Steve was Barry, an obese and clinically insane boy who was also a mentally impaired child. He used to take prescription meds because if he didn't, his dangerous persona would emerge.